Being a teenager and coping with a loved one with cancer can be a tough experience. There are times when your emotions take over and you feel like no one understands what you are going through. This short animation tells the story of a teenager just like you.
My dad fell ill in the autumn of 2009. I was 17 years old. There were not many indications that my dad had cancer. My mum only noticed when he didn't act like himself. He didn't act like my dad. My mum persuaded him to get a checkup at the doctors. We never expected such a drastic response. The doctors didn't know exactly what was going on, but they admitted him nonetheless. We knew it was serious. After an MRI scan and a CAT scan, the doctors found the tumor had grown in his nasal cavity and had already spread into his brain, explaining his change of habits. They explained there would have never been any indications of the tumor in its early stage, as it grew in the cavity. It was terminal, but my mum didn't tell me at the time. Dad's illness affected my personality in a bad way. Starting college was hard. I felt like I always had to put a brave face on. Many of my peers and teachers had no idea what was going on at home, and I just wanted to pretend it wasn't happening. I felt like it was something I had to hide. This was the first thing that made me feel guilty. I wasn't ashamed of my dad. I was just insecure about my reality. I didn't want people to feel sorry for me. As my dad fell more and more ill, it got harder and harder at home. My mom took time off at the hospital to take care of my dad 24/7. This was the second thing I felt guilty about. I felt like I didn't spend enough time looking after my dad. In fact, I hid in my room most days, rather than going downstairs and talking to him. I hated seeing him that way. The biggest thing I felt guilty about was how selfishly I thought during my dad's illness. All I seemed to care about was how it affected my life, how because of it my friends didn't know how to talk to me, how because of it I couldn't go out, how because of it I was struggling at school. I hardly thought about my parents' situation. I hardly thought about how hard it was for my mom, how frustrating being disabled was for my dad, how heartbreaking it was for them to think of the idea of being apart. However, I was lucky that I wasn't fully alone during all my confusion. My older siblings assured me that everything I was feeling was normal. At the end, me and my mom became closer than ever. I still regret the things I never did for my dad, but I know he wouldn't want me to dwell in the past.
Do you relate to Shaban's story? Just know that you are not alone. Share your story at teenscopingwithcancer@gmail.com.